Have you ever paused to truly contemplate the inescapable, universal nature of pain? It is a fundamental, non-negotiable component of every single human life, a thread woven inextricably into the very fabric of our existence, from the moment we are born until the moment we depart. There exists no genuine path forward that is entirely free from difficulty, no meaningful achievement that does not require the overcoming of some form of hardship, and no profound personal growth that can occur without first passing through the refining fires of discomfort and challenge. Pain, in its myriad forms, is a truly democratic visitor. It arrives at the doorsteps of the strong just as frequently as it does the weak. It tests the resolve of the wise with the same relentless intensity as it does the unwise. It is not a personal indictment of your character or a unique punishment designed specifically for you. It is simply an inevitable, natural part of the human condition, a consequence of being alive in a complex and often unpredictable world. And within the profound, timeless teachings of the ancient Stoic philosophers, pain is not viewed as a meaningless curse to be avoided at all costs, but rather as a potent tool, a stern but invaluable teacher, and a powerful forge for the human spirit. This video, right here, is categorically not about finding clever ways to escape pain or to numb ourselves to its presence. Instead, it is a deep and practical guide about learning how to meet pain with unwavering composure, about discovering how to rise through it with dignity, about allowing yourself to be refined and strengthened by its pressures, and ultimately, about letting it sculpt you into a person of greater resilience, wisdom, and unshakable inner strength. The Stoics of old never promised their followers a life of endless comfort and ease. Such a promise would be a hollow fantasy. What they did promise, however, was something far more valuable and enduring: the gift of clarity. They taught, through both word and example, that a person's truest character is not revealed during times of peace and prosperity, but is instead laid bare for all to see through their response to trials and tribulations. Your response to suffering, they argued, is the ultimate measure of who you truly are at your core. This comprehensive video has been thoughtfully divided into a series of chapters, with each one systematically building upon the last to construct a robust and reliable mindset of authentic strength and resilience. You will not find any abstract theoretical musings or impractical philosophies here. What you will find are practical, actionable truths that you can apply to your life this very day. You will find the enduring, battle-tested wisdom of giants like Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and other Stoic thinkers who themselves faced unimaginable suffering, war, exile, betrayal, illness, and yet managed to remain psychologically whole and virtuous. Let this video serve as a personal guide for those inevitable moments when life feels overwhelmingly heavy. Let it be a constant reminder that suffering, no matter how intense, is not a life sentence. It is merely a season, and in every season, no matter how dark or difficult, you always retain the innate power to decide what kind of person you will become because of it. Let us begin this journey together. Chapter 1. The true nature of pain and its purpose. We must begin by fundamentally re-understanding what pain actually is. Pain, in all its forms, is first and foremost a signal. It's a powerful biological and psychological alert system that tells you, sometimes quite urgently, that something truly matters, that something requires your attention. The Stoics drilled down into a revolutionary idea. The pain itself is very rarely the actual problem. Rather, it is your personal judgment about the pain, your internal narrative and assessment of it, that is the primary source of your distress and suffering. The great philosopher king Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively in his private meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This insight is absolutely essential for mastering our experience of life. Physical pain and emotional pain are undeniable realities that will arise repeatedly throughout your life. No one, regardless of their status, wealth, or virtue, is exempt from the reach of illness, the anguish of loss, the sting of disappointment, or the weight of stress. These forms of pain cannot always be prevented. They are part of the deal. However, what can always be shaped, molded, and mastered is the personal meaning we choose to attach to them and the manner in which we consciously choose to move through them. Suffering is not a fixed, monolithic state. It takes its specific shape and intensity through our own interpretation. When pain is automatically judged as being unfair, undeserved, or utterly meaningless, a toxic resentment begins to build within us. That very resentment, that sense of victimhood, actively deepens and prolongs the suffering. Conversely, when pain is viewed as something to be learned from, as a necessary test of our resilience, it is transformed. It becomes an integral part of a larger process of becoming wiser, more stable, and more emotionally intelligent. How you choose to understand and frame the pain you face ultimately determines whether it will drain you of your power or become a source of immense strength. Cultivating the mental discipline required to handle pain properly is a practice, much like building a muscle. Just as the human body physiologically responds to physical stress by gradually building endurance and muscle fiber, the mind must learn to respond to emotional and psychological stress by becoming more aware, more deliberate, and less reactive. This growth does not happen automatically. It comes through consistent daily practice. When discomfort rises within you, rather than immediately yielding to the primal urge to escape it or numb it, try instead to sit with it calmly. Let it inform you. Ask yourself with genuine curiosity what this experience might be uncovering about your beliefs or attachments. Ask what habit, belief, or desire is being exposed to the light by this pain. Pain often functions as a ruthless truth-teller, showing you your attachments. It brings to light the things, people, or circumstances you have unconsciously come to depend upon for your sense of stability or identity. For instance, if you feel utterly crushed by criticism, it may revealingly show that your sense of self-worth is excessively dependent on external praise and validation. If rejection feels completely devastating, it may show that your inner peace is precariously tied to the approval of others. If mere discomfort feels unbearable, it may show that you have placed far too much trust and expectation in a life of constant comfort and convenience. These insights, while not always pleasant to confront, are incredibly useful. They help you identify the specific areas where you have misplaced your sense of control. The Stoics taught that you must continually return your focus inward. When pain arises, consciously bring your attention back to the only things you can truly govern: your own thoughts, your own choices, and your own guiding principles. Do not exhaust yourself chasing control where there is none. Instead, anchor yourself firmly in the inner domain where your influence remains absolute and firm. This mental redirection is not instant. It takes endless repetition. But over time, it fundamentally changes how you respond to life's challenges. There is no existential requirement to fear pain, but there is a requirement to face it with courage. Let it strip away the superficial layers of your ego. Let it show you what you must courageously confront within yourself. Let it expose the comforting illusions you have held onto, the false measures of strength, success, or happiness. This courageous confrontation is the true beginning of renewal. Pain that is faced with clear-eyed awareness ceases to be merely a punishment and becomes a source of correction, a source of profound truth. Chapter 2: The Foundational Principles of Control and Acceptance. The core of Stoic practice, as famously laid out by the former slave and profound teacher Epictetus, is the radical idea that genuine freedom and tranquility begin the very moment we learn to cleanly separate what is within our control from what is not. Pain, with its intense and distracting nature, often dangerously blurs this essential boundary. It tempts us to waste our energy grasping at control where there simply is none. Pain itself is part of the natural world. It will arrive at your door without asking for your permission. You cannot stop its arrival, but you can absolutely control how you choose to meet it. You can control your perspective, your decisions, and your subsequent behavior. You can strive to stay aligned with your virtues, even under immense pressure. This is where the concept of acceptance becomes critical. Acceptance, in the Stoic sense, is not defeatism or passive indifference. It is, at its heart, a form of profound clarity. When you fully accept what is outside your control, you immediately stop wasting your precious energy resisting reality. You can then redirect that conserved strength toward what can actually be shaped: your response. The Stoics consistently urged us to focus on what they called the work of the soul. External events will shift and change with the wind, but your character, your virtue, is always within your reach. In moments of hardship, the Stoic question is always, can you return to what is truly yours? Can you return to your thoughts, your values, and your actions? You can choose to be honest, even when honesty is deeply uncomfortable. You can choose to be courageous, even when fear is palpably present. You can choose to remain composed, even when the world around you feels utterly unstable and chaotic. These are not traits reserved for ideal conditions. They are decisions made in the very middle of difficulty. They are within your grasp because they begin in your mind and take form through deliberate, conscious choice. Hardship, therefore, is best viewed as a field for practical application. It gives you a real-time chance to live your principles, not just theorize about them. The Stoic sees every obstacle as a hidden opportunity to develop self-command. Each struggle acts as a mirror. It shows you with unflinching honesty where your discipline holds firm and where it weakens. That feedback, however uncomfortable, is invaluable. It allows for immediate correction and invites genuine progress. The work of the soul is to meet those challenges not with denial or complaint, but with preparation and strength. This work is not some abstract concept. It is practiced in 1,000 ordinary choices every day. It's evident in how you speak to others when you're feeling frustrated, how you act when you're exhausted, how you treat people when you yourself are hurting. When pain visits you, remind yourself of this Stoic truth. This is part of nature's design. Nothing irregular or uniquely unfair is happening to you. Loss, injury, change, and difficulty are built into the very structure of existence. Every single life includes these moments. Every person, no matter how fortunate or prepared, will eventually face something they cannot control. Understanding this universal truth can dissolve a significant amount of the emotional tension that comes from futile resistance. You do not need to morally agree with what happened. You simply need to align yourself with what is. Acceptance begins when you stop fighting the fact of the event and start focusing your energy on your role within it. You may very well feel grief, frustration, or confusion. These are human emotions, but you still retain agency. You can still choose to act with clarity. You can return to your core principles. You can hold your posture with dignity in the face of difficulty. That posture is your character. When you refuse to argue pointlessly with reality, you conserve an enormous amount of energy. You stop draining yourself through endless complaint and reactivity. You return to what you can actually do. You build from what remains. This is the authentic Stoic way of meeting pain, not with cold detachment, but with directed effort, with discipline in thought, and with steadiness in action. You stand within the experience and consciously shape your response with intention. This is how the soul is strengthened, through continuous application, through living each day with self-mastery at the very center of your conduct. Chapter 3. Cultivating endurance as a form of training. The Stoic conception of endurance is far more than mere survival or passive bearing. It is an active form of mastery. To endure well means to consciously remain in control of your mind and your actions throughout the duration of a difficulty. The Stoics firmly believed that adversity is what actually builds strength through repeated, managed exposure. They frequently compared life's challenges to physical training. Just as the body becomes stronger and more resilient through resistance training, the mind gains resilience and fortitude through intellectual and emotional challenge. Seneca, writing to his friend Lucilius, stated this plainly: "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." This was not merely a poetic metaphor, it was direct, practical instruction. It was a vital reminder that difficulty is the proper and indeed necessary ground for all genuine growth. Pain tests your resolve like nothing else can. It forces decisions that reveal your actual principles, stripping away pretense. Under pressure, there is no space to pretend. Your deepest habits and values will either support you or they will collapse. When you learn to endure hardship without losing your emotional balance, you learn through direct experience that your strength is real. You begin to build a deep, unshakable trust in yourself. That self-trust is the foundation of all true confidence. Enduring challenges with integrity also has a clarifying effect. It helps you identify with crystal clarity what truly matters to you. It shows you what you are genuinely willing to struggle for and, just as importantly, what no longer deserves your finite energy. The process of developing this kind of endurance starts with creating structure in your life. Self-discipline provides a foundation that can absorb life's shocks. This discipline is not driven by self-punishment. It is created through intentional, positive repetition. A morning reflection practice helps you center your priorities for the day. Evening journaling provides crucial perspective on your behavior. Moments of intentional silence increase your overall awareness. Acts of restraint strengthen your judgment. Speaking truthfully when it is difficult reinforces your core values. These habits are not dramatic or glamorous, but they are incredibly powerful. They systematically increase your ability to remain stable and functional when discomfort appears. It is vital to understand that preparation cannot begin in the middle of a crisis. It begins in the calm of daily living. Waiting for severe suffering to arrive to start training your mind is far too late. You must begin now. The good news is that you do not need extreme conditions to grow. You can seek out mild, self-imposed difficulty as training. Choose to walk when it would be easier to drive. Practice a brief fast when it would be easier to snack. Consciously hold your words when impatience rises within you. These are all practical exercises in self-control. They create a neural pattern of staying present and composed when things are merely inconvenient or uncertain, so you are prepared for when they become truly difficult. Endurance also requires keen attention. You need to know your limits without becoming a victim to them. Learn to sit with discomfort just long enough to understand its message without letting it overwhelm you. The goal is never to ignore pain, but to learn to move through it with awareness. Each moment of manageable discomfort is a chance to train your attention, to clarify your standards, and to recommit to your principles. These small moments create a psychological framework that allows you to stay functional and grounded during much larger, unforeseen challenges. Pain will come. When it does, your preparation will be revealed for what it is. Your habits, your thoughts, and your automatic responses will be tested. The way you've trained your mind to handle pressure will become visibly evident in how you speak, how you carry your body, and how you recover from setbacks. If you have taken consistent time to build stability within yourself, pain will not be allowed to dominate your behavior. You will still feel the tension, of course. You will still experience the emotional and physical strain. Stoicism is not about becoming numb, but you will remain functional. You will be able to think clearly and respond deliberately rather than react impulsively. Training the mind and body in advance builds a form of quiet readiness. This readiness does not erase pain, but it completely changes your position within it. You are no longer caught by surprise or feeling like a victim of circumstance. You meet it with awareness, and with a toolkit you have practiced. You know how to breathe through the moment. You know how to observe your reactions without being controlled by them. You know how to keep your decisions rooted in principle rather than panic. Pain has a way of shaking our deepest assumptions. It interrupts our best-laid plans. It may take away things, people, or statuses you once relied upon for your sense of self. Without preparation, that loss can feel like a total collapse of your world. With preparation, it becomes a moment of necessary realignment. You can adjust your actions while staying clear on your priorities. You can allow yourself to feel grief or hardship without turning away from what matters most. You can continue moving forward even while under significant pressure. This ability to continue without losing your sense of direction or your values is what makes endurance a skill to be cultivated, not just a reaction to be endured. Recovery is also much faster when your mind is trained. Emotional pain tends to linger far longer in a disorganized, untrained mind. When you have trained your attention and focused on self-regulation, you do not extend the suffering through added layers of resistance, confusion, or self-pity. You do not add unnecessary judgment or panic to the original pain. You can return to what is clear. You can ask yourself the right questions. What is required of me right now? What aspects of this situation are within my control? What specific behavior would align with my character and values? The Stoics understood that pain wasn't part of the structure of existence. They did not view it as a curse or a sign of divine displeasure. They understood it as a natural challenge, like hunger, thirst, or cold, that could be met with practical effort and moral courage. They treated it as a necessary pressure that builds depth of character. Like resistance in the gym, pain increases the capacity and strength of the soul when it is met with consistency and clarity. Endurance, therefore, is not about waiting passively for difficulty to pass. It's about actively choosing to continue living with intention while the difficulty is present. It means holding your position with calm in your face, order in your speech, and integrity in your actions. This posture, practiced again and again, eventually becomes your baseline. You learn through experience that you can operate effectively through difficulty without compromising who you are at your core. That realization is what makes you genuinely strong. The soul is trained through repetition. Every time you stand firm in the middle of pain, your character becomes more stable. Each moment you respond with calm, even while hurting, strengthens your sense of self. Endurance is built through daily discipline and is revealed in moments of extreme pressure. That is the true path to resilience. That is the weight that transforms you. Chapter 4. The practice of suffering with dignity. Pain, unfortunately, often brings with it a companion of shame. When people suffer, they frequently feel exposed, vulnerable, and weak. They may feel unstable, diminished, or broken. They may internalize the struggle and believe it reflects a personal failure or some inherent inadequacy. This belief adds a heavy, unnecessary emotional burden on top of the original hardship itself. The Stoics vehemently rejected this corrosive idea. They understood that pain is a universal part of the human condition. It does not and cannot ruin your inherent worth as a person. What truly matters is not whether you feel pain, but how you choose to act while you are in pain. Your response, not your condition, is what defines your strength. Dignity in suffering comes from a consistency in behavior. It means consciously choosing to act in line with your deepest values, even when internal or external pressure is urging you to do otherwise. It means being truthful when lying would feel easier and provide short-term relief. It means remaining kind and compassionate to others even when you yourself are wounded. It means continuing to carry out your responsibilities with a sense of calm and steadiness, even when you feel utterly unsettled and turbulent on the inside. These deliberate decisions are what give authentic shape to your character. They build trust in yourself. They also create a stable, reliable presence for others who may be watching you for guidance or reassurance during their own difficult times. Marcus Aurelius often reflected in his private journal on the actions of others to guide his own conduct. He wrote with admiration about people who showed remarkable modesty, even in sickness, restraint in the face of anger, and unshakable composure during major setbacks. He paid close attention to those who held their character together under extreme stress. He saw in them living, breathing proof that virtue is not tied to comfortable circumstance. These examples served as his moral compass. They reminded him that he too could choose to act with honor and integrity, regardless of the external events swirling around him. You do not need to hide your pain or pretend it doesn't exist to have dignity. Stoicism is not stoicism in the modern sense of emotionless repression. You can allow the pain to be present and acknowledged while still consciously choosing to carry yourself with strength. Let your words remain thoughtful and measured rather than reactive. Let your physical presence remain grounded and calm. Let your behavior remain consistent with the principles you hold dear. This is how you remain psychologically upright through hardship. Let your actions speak clearly for you. Let them reflect the discipline you've been practicing and the values you've consciously chosen to uphold. When your conduct is orderly and principled, others inevitably gain strength from your example. You become someone others can truly rely upon in a crisis. You also remind yourself that difficulty does not have the final word over your life. Your behavior does. The Stoics believed that the most powerful person in any room is the one who is ruled by reason, not by impulse, even when under tremendous pressure. This kind of power cannot be taken away by external misfortune. It is built brick by brick through daily choice and maintained by unwavering habit. Dignity is the visible outward result of that inner strength. It is the visible posture of a soul that has trained itself to act with clarity and purpose, no matter the weather. When the world outside feels unsteady and chaotic, your example matters more than ever. When life is painful, your conduct matters most. Let your dignity become the quiet strength that others remember long after the difficulty has passed. Let it be the standard you return to again and again, the internal anchor that keeps your character whole when everything else seems to be falling apart. Chapter 5. Finding Purpose and Meaning Through Pain. One of the most transformative aspects of pain is its unique ability to strip away life's distractions. It can, if we let it, reveal with startling clarity what truly matters to us. It narrows your focus forcefully. When everything in life is easy and comfortable, it is incredibly tempting to scatter your attention across a wide landscape of comforts, others' opinions, and petty conveniences. When significant pain strikes, however, your attention instantly becomes sharper and more focused. The unnecessary and the trivial fade into the background. What remains standing in stark relief are the people, the values, and the goals that carry genuine, deep meaning. In the Stoic view, pain is a great clarifier. It cuts through illusion like a hot knife through butter. It removes the false priorities that accumulate over time like dust on a shelf. It forces a period of deep reflection. It interrupts your comfortable routine and asks you to critically evaluate whether your current actions truly reflect what you say you believe. Pain invites, or rather demands, a deeper alignment with your principles. In moments of suffering, you are far less likely to act on mere impulse. You begin to ask yourself hard questions. Does my behavior match the values I claim to hold? How have I been living my life? And does that life support the kind of person I genuinely want to become? This reflection is undoubtedly difficult, but it is immensely useful. It has the power to reset your path. It helps you find true direction when you feel lost and adrift. When you are suffering, ask yourself these purposeful questions. What is this experience showing me about my true values? What am I holding on to that no longer serves my growth? What matters so much to me that it hurts this deeply when it is threatened or taken away? These questions do not magically eliminate the pain, but they bring structure and meaning to it. They help you locate the potential lesson within the discomfort. They bring you back to your center, to that part of you that is governed by principle and reason, rather than by raw, unexamined emotion. In that centered place, genuine clarity becomes possible. The Stoics were unequivocal on this point. The purpose of life is not comfort. The goal is not to craft a life that avoids all pain and difficulty. The ultimate goal is to become someone capable of meeting those inevitable conditions with strength, wisdom, and virtue. The aim is to live with excellence, to develop moral character, to make choices that reflect courage, justice, temperance, and practical wisdom. Pain reminds you of this higher purpose by ruthlessly removing everything that does not matter. It brings a fierce urgency to your life. It reminds you that your time on earth is limited, that your actions carry real weight, and that your daily habits are actively shaping who you are becoming. When life becomes too easy and comfortable for too long, there is a real risk of drifting unconsciously. You may begin to operate on autopilot. Days can pass without real intention or awareness. Challenges seem distant and abstract. You may begin to rely more on comfort and convenience than on effort and principle. Without struggle, there is little urgency to examine your priorities. There is less pressure to develop self-discipline. A life entirely without hardship can actually reduce the need to sharpen your judgment or to critically revisit your values. Without friction, mere momentum takes over, and you stop consciously steering your life with clarity and purpose. Pain stops that drift. It interrupts passivity. It pulls your attention away from trivial distractions and forces you to engage with what is real and consequential. Pain demands that you examine your circumstances closely. It makes you question your habits, your mindset, and your automatic reactions. You must respond. Avoidance no longer works. You are called to make choices with more focus and intention. You are required to engage actively with your own life. Pain has a way of closing the gap between what you say you believe and what you actually do. It also sets necessary boundaries. It limits self-indulgence. It draws your attention to areas that need work. When you feel the discomfort of consequence, you are no longer able to ignore what needs to change. This uncomfortable awareness is often the very first step in any meaningful personal development. Pain forces action. Whether the required action is physical, emotional, or mental, you are moved to evaluate your current approach and correct your course. It becomes much harder to rationalize poor decisions or bad habits when suffering makes the consequences immediate and undeniable. That response, when it is formed with intention and principle, is what brings growth. You begin to build patterns that help you manage difficulty more effectively. You adopt habits that strengthen your ability to face future challenges with grace. Growth does not occur by accident. It requires conscious decision and relentless repetition. Strength is a skill. It is built through the deliberate effort you put into your response to hardship. It forms when you take full responsibility for your behavior in the hardship. It grows when you stop searching for an escape hatch and begin shaping your actions based on principle rather than on pleasure or pain. Pain creates the necessary environment for that growth. It sets the stage for a deeper, more authentic form of strength. That strength is revealed in how you manage your time, your words, your thoughts, and your energy when things are at their most difficult. Pain exposes what is merely reactive in you and invites what is steady and principled to take the lead. It presents the critical moment when your beliefs must become your behavior. The test is clear. Your conduct becomes the living proof of your preparation. Let pain focus you. Let it guide your attention toward what has lasting value. Let it clarify your direction by stripping away unnecessary pursuits. Let it raise your standards by making you acutely aware of what you have tolerated for too long. Let it sharpen your self-awareness by confronting you with the undeniable reality of your actions. Let that confrontation become a turning point in your life. a moment when you shift from seeking mere ease towards seeking profound meaning, a moment when you commit to effort with intention. Purpose is not hidden in comfort. It is shaped and revealed by repeated difficult choices. It appears when you keep moving through difficulty with clear intentions. It emerges from decision and is strengthened through endurance. Purpose does not wait for the right moment. It becomes clear through action. When pain reveals what truly matters, your decisions become more focused. The path forward becomes visible when you continue walking with commitment. Pain has the profound capacity to remove what weakens you. It forces you to abandon distractions and to finally confront what is essential. It helps you see with stark clarity where you have been avoiding responsibility or resisting necessary growth. It reveals the gap between what you know you should do and what you actually practice. In doing so, it brings you into closer, more honest contact with your own values. If you are willing to pay attention without flinching, pain becomes a guide. It points directly to the places in your life where greater alignment is needed. It offers a chance to realign your entire life around clarity, honesty, and strength. What no longer supports your growth can be released. What is meaningful can be pursued with greater urgency and focus. Through this difficult but rewarding process, pain is transformed from a tormentor into a refining force, one that actively shapes your direction, your habits, and your very identity. Chapter 6. Gaining emotional clarity. Through the experience of suffering, pain possesses a unique ability to expose what you feel most deeply. It removes layers of distraction, social conditioning, and numbness to reveal the core of your emotional patterns. In the face of genuine suffering, raw emotions rise to the surface. Anger, sadness, fear, disappointment, all become clearer and more intense. This emotional intensity, while uncomfortable, is actually useful data. It shows you what you truly value. It shows you where you are reactive, where you are defensive, and where you are still fragile. The Stoics were not emotional repressionists. They did not dismiss emotion as worthless. Instead, they studied it with the curiosity of a scientist. They treated emotions as signals, valuable information, not as commands that must be immediately obeyed. An emotion like fear signals that something you perceive as important may be threatened. Anger often signals that a personal boundary or value may have been crossed. Sadness signals a sense of loss or bereavement. These signals are valuable because they point you toward necessary reflection. They invite you to ask yourself, is this emotion an accurate assessment of the situation? Is it useful for my long-term well-being? Is it guiding me to act in a way that is virtuous and effective? Or is it pulling me away from reason and into reactivity? Emotional clarity is achieved by consciously creating a small amount of distance between the initial feeling and the subsequent action. When you are in acute pain, that distance becomes much harder to maintain, but it is also even more essential. The ability to pause, to examine what you are feeling, and then to decide how you will act based on your principles is the very foundation of emotional discipline. That discipline is not innate, it is built through practice like any other skill. In moments of suffering, make it a practice to take time to reflect. Write down what you are feeling in a journal. Speak it aloud to yourself in a clear and calm tone, which can help objectify it. Pay close attention to your body's reactions, your breathing, your posture, your energy levels. Notice what external factors seem to sharpen your reaction and what internal practices help to calm it. These habits systematically strengthen your ability to hold steady under pressure. Emotions themselves do not make you weak. Unexamined emotions are what make you unstable. The Stoic practitioner trains themselves to see the emotion, to acknowledge its presence without judgment, and then to choose a behavior that is in alignment with their principles, not their passions. Through this consistent practice, pain is transformed from a mere affliction into a teacher of emotional clarity. It becomes a mirror that reflects your inner state, the fears, attachments, and beliefs you might otherwise overlook during easier times. When pain is used in this way, it sharpens your emotional insight dramatically. It reveals where your emotional responses are being shaped by unconscious habit rather than by present moment awareness. It brings your attention to how quickly you react to stimuli and whether those knee-jerk reactions actually serve your long-term goals. The ability to step back mentally and observe the pain while it is happening creates a crucial space for choice. In that space, you find the option to respond with purpose rather than to react with panic. Over time, this practice builds a calm and deeply structured mindset. You begin to understand the specific conditions that trigger you. You start to recognize the emotional patterns that have gone unchecked for years. This self-knowledge gives you the leverage you need to change them. Developing the ability to become an observer of your inner world rather than a prisoner of it strengthens your presence immensely. It builds the kind of patience that is invaluable in high-pressure situations. You no longer feel the compulsive need to resolve every conflict or discomfort immediately. You do not rush into explanations, arguments, or withdrawal. You can learn to hold the moment in place, examine it from all angles, and consciously choose the right timing for your next action. That sense of timing matters immensely. Acting too soon can often escalate a problem. Waiting too long can lead to avoidance and resentment. Pain teaches you, through experience, to recognize the right moment to speak, to listen, or to take a step back. This level of self-control is rare precisely because it takes repeated conscious effort. It is earned through dedicated self-study and a commitment to making small, daily corrections. Each time you successfully pause, reflect, and then act with clarity, you build internal trust and self-respect. That trust is essential. It allows you to carry yourself through difficulty without losing your center or your sense of self. You begin to know yourself as someone who does not unravel under pressure. That hard-won stability becomes a form of quiet confidence that is visible to others in your tone of voice, your body posture, and your decision-making process. Pain also encourages a profound emotional maturity. You learn that emotional intensity does not necessarily equal depth of understanding. You realize that clarity and calm are far more useful than emotional expression for its own sake. As your emotional patterns refine, you become less dependent on external validation to feel understood or secure. You gain confidence in your own ability to process your emotions internally and to communicate them effectively and appropriately when needed. This emotional self-sufficiency makes your presence more reliable and reassuring to others. People feel instinctively safer around someone who does not add to the instability during a difficult time. When others around you are becoming unsteady, your balance becomes a source of order and calm. You do not need to dominate the conversation or withdraw entirely. You can simply hold your ground. You can observe the situation without reacting to it impulsively. You can provide clarity to others through your own calm behavior rather than through the volume of your words. This is the kind of presence that earns genuine respect without ever having to demand it. It is built patiently by facing pain directly and by being willing to learn from it. Let pain bring you emotional clarity. Let it show you how to slow your reactions, deepen your observations, and refine your self-understanding. Let it train your mind to stay rooted in what you value most, even as strong emotions rise and fall. Let it teach you to respond to life's challenges with order, with honesty, and with strength. Through this daily discipline, your inner world becomes more structured, peaceful, and resilient, and that internal structure becomes the foundation that supports your conduct in every part of your life. Chapter 7. Building resilience as a conscious daily practice. It is crucial to understand that resilience is not a fixed personality trait that you either have or you don't. It is a capacity, a mental and emotional muscle that is developed through consistent repetition and practice. The Stoics were great believers in the idea of training the mind daily to face life's inevitable challenges with composure and virtue. This daily training is what systematically builds endurance, self-awareness, and the ability to remain effective and principled in the face of adversity. Resilience begins with the foundational layer of mindset. Each new day presents a fresh chance to prepare for future difficulty, not in a paranoid way, but in a practical way. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote in his private journal each morning, reminding himself proactively that the day ahead would likely bring obstacles and difficult people. This was not pessimism, it was pragmatic readiness. Expecting some level of discomfort allows you to meet it without being surprised or feeling victimized by it. You prepare your mind in advance to act with steadiness and principle instead of with resistance and shock. Specific daily practices are the building blocks that support this preparation. A period of morning reflection builds mental order and sets your intentions. Physical discipline, whether exercise, cold exposure, or fasting, builds a tolerance for discomfort and teaches the mind that it can endure hard things. Practicing deliberate and measured speech trains you to be clear and thoughtful under social pressure. These are all habits that accumulate strength quietly over time. They reduce impulsiveness. They create reliability in your character. They make your internal life more structured and less chaotic, which provides a stable base, even when external situations become unpredictable. A key component of resilience that is often overlooked is recovery. A truly resilient person experiences setbacks, emotional disruption, and pain just like anyone else. What separates them is their learned ability to return to a state of balance with intention and speed. They do not stay down in the emotional trenches for long periods. They have a process. They pause, they take an honest inventory of what occurred, and they make practical adjustments to get back on track. This recovery is an active process, not a passive waiting game. It is built through specific, practiced habits such as self-reflection, intentional physical rest, and mental realignment through meditation or journaling. These practices actively return the body and mind to a steady state where clear thinking and responsible action become possible once again. The habit of reflection is a key part of this recovery process. After a difficult moment or a personal failure, take time to review it without self-flagellation. Ask yourself constructive questions. What specifically triggered my reaction? What response did I choose in that moment? Did that response align with the values I want to embody? What would I do differently if a similar situation happened again? These questions strengthen self-awareness dramatically. They help you identify the patterns of thought and behavior that weaken your effectiveness under stress. With this insight, you become better prepared and less reactive when similar challenges arise in the future. Physical and emotional rest also matters immensely to resilience. Physical exhaustion and emotional fatigue significantly reduce your ability to respond well to challenges. Recovery must include making non-negotiable space for adequate sleep, solitude, and stillness. The mind resets and recharges in quiet. When you allow yourself time to step away from the tension, you regain access to your higher reasoning and your prefrontal cortex. You stop reacting from a place of depletion and begin responding from a place of clarity and choice. Making rest a disciplined part of your recovery routine is not lazy. It is a strategic form of self-discipline that protects your long-term effectiveness and resilience. Recentering practices are what ground you firmly in your values after you've been knocked off course. When hardship disrupts your equilibrium, you need reliable practices that return your focus to your core principles. This could include journaling, prayer, walking in nature, or simple breathing exercises. Anything that helps you recall who you want to be and how you choose to act in adversity becomes a vital part of your reset process. These tools do not remove the objective difficulty, but they realign you with your purpose so you can continue moving forward with intention. This ability to recover efficiently also reduces the fear of future setbacks. When you have personal experience with the process of regaining control and peace, you stop fearing the disruption itself. You know from practice that you can face significant strain and still find your way back to order. This trust in your own adaptability creates a deep-seated confidence. It makes you more willing to take on responsibility and challenges under pressure, because you know that even if you falter, you have the tools and the practice to correct your course. The essence of building resilience is to apply your values through small, repeated actions every single day. Do what aligns with your standards, even when it is inconvenient or uncomfortable. Wake up early when the easier choice is to hit the snooze button. Speak with honesty and kindness when silence or gossip would be more comfortable. Hold your posture and monitor your tone when frustration builds within you. Stay quiet and listen when interrupting would be easier and more satisfying. These are all acts of internal training. They build a powerful neural pattern of choosing principle over impulse. With enough time and repetition, these patterns become your natural automatic response. That repetition is what creates the deep structure of resilience. It is built from countless habits, not from isolated moments of heroic effort. These small daily practices eventually become part of your identity. They make your responses more consistent and reliable. They make your thoughts more organized and less chaotic. They protect your decisions from being hijacked by temporary emotions. Each day that you hold the line in one small area, your psychological foundation becomes more stable and resilient. Let resilience become your quiet routine. Let it shape the way you sit, speak, and make decisions throughout an ordinary day. Let it be present in the way you handle minor discomforts, unexpected delays, and small disappointments. Each small act of self-control adds another layer to your overall strength. Let each day serve as quiet, consistent preparation for the larger tests that will inevitably come. When they arrive, you will not need to invent new responses or summon strength you don't have. You will act from the deep well of training you already carry within you. This is the true structure of a resilient life, measured, repeatable, practical, and deeply grounded in everyday practice. Chapter 8. The alchemy of transforming pain into principle. Pain, in its raw state, can ultimately lead one of two places. It can fester into lasting bitterness and resentment, or it can be alchemized into profound wisdom and strength. The final outcome depends almost entirely on how you choose to interpret it and respond to it over time. The Stoics consciously chose the latter path. They dedicated themselves to turning pain into principle. They allowed their suffering to refine their beliefs, to sharpen their character, and to deepen their understanding of life and human nature. To begin this transformative process of turning pain into principle, you must start by consciously identifying what the difficult experience is trying to teach you. Ask yourself with honesty, what lesson is life repeating for me? What underlying truth is this pain making harder and harder to ignore? What standard of behavior does this situation now require of me? When you successfully draw principles from your pain, you create incredible stability within yourself. You are no longer at the mercy of reacting to every difficulty as if it's a unique catastrophe. You are following a pre-established standard based on wisdom. For example, if you face betrayal, that pain can sharpen your commitment to personal honesty and loyalty. If you face injustice, it can deepen your dedication to fairness and equity in your own dealings. If you experience a searing loss, it can strengthen your practice of gratitude for what remains and for the time you had. Each form of pain, if reflected upon, can lead you to a higher, more principled form of living. Principles give clear direction. They make future decisions simpler and clearer. They act as a moral and practical compass when emotions are loud and external conditions are unstable and confusing. The Stoics believed that a well-lived life was built on a foundation of principles that had been tested and proven through real hardship. Pain was the fire that revealed where virtue was real and integrated, and where it was only theoretical and weak. It is powerful to document these insights as you gain them. Turn them into personal maxims or rules to live by. Repeat them during your daily reflection. Apply them consciously when you feel tested or tempted. Over time, these principles cease to be things you need to recall. They become automatic, woven into the fabric of your character. Your entire character becomes shaped by wisdom that came not from a book, but from direct, often painful experience. Pain is frequently the original source of your deepest, most held convictions. It forces a necessary confrontation between what you say you believe and how you actually live. It pushes your values out of the realm of theory and into the unforgiving light of action. When you are tested by suffering, vague, comfortable beliefs become more defined and sharpened. You begin to see with stark clarity what you are truly willing to stand for and what no longer holds any real weight in your life. This process strips away the non-essential and leaves only what is stable and lasting. It tests the strength of your beliefs through the repetition of challenges. If a belief cannot hold under pressure, it must be either questioned, strengthened, or discarded. Each hardship highlights what within you is still fragile and what has become firm and reliable. These moments of testing help you revise and prioritize your values. They teach you to rely less on the temporary opinions of the crowd and more on enduring principles that provide inner peace. With each challenge, you refine your understanding of what matters and what endures when comfort and convenience are gone. Pain has a way of removing what is weak within you, the excuses, the rationalizations, the unexamined assumptions. It forces correction. When something you deeply believed collapses under the weight of experience, you are given a priceless opportunity to build a better, stronger foundation in its place. This is how pain reinforces what is truly lasting. It shows you which values can hold under the pressure of real hardship. It teaches you to separate mere preference from core principle. Use your pain to define your values with greater precision. Write them down. Speak them aloud to yourself. Apply them deliberately in moments of pressure and temptation. Let your principles be shaped by what you have lived through and learned from, not just by what you have read or been told. Pain teaches you to live your values with greater seriousness and intention. It adds weight to your decisions and creates a stronger, more authentic alignment between your words and your actions. Let pain be the place where your life becomes more exact, more intentional, and more focused. Let it be the moment where discipline replaces impulse and where clarity replaces confusion. Let it mark a significant shift in how you carry yourself through the world, less reactive, more grounded, more aware of the impact of each decision you make. Let pain serve your highest development by becoming the raw material for your principles. Let each hardship become the source of a stronger, more resilient foundation. Let it create a more stable, thoughtful, and virtuous version of who you are becoming. Chapter 9, The Forging of Leadership. Through the experience of suffering. Suffering has a way of revealing who people naturally turn to when things become difficult and uncertain. In moments of crisis and anxiety, those who have trained themselves to remain steady, clear-headed, and principled are instinctively looked to for guidance and stability. The Stoics had a particular view of leadership. It was a role earned through consistent conduct and character, not merely granted by title, position, or force of personality. Pain is what sharpens that conduct. It tests whether your behavior under pressure actually matches the standards you expect from others. A leader whose character has been shaped by hardship speaks less from abstract theory and more from lived experience. They have confronted their own weaknesses and have practiced discipline in the dark, away from the spotlight. They know intimately the cost of collapse and the immense value of self-control. This kind of leader does not avoid discomfort. They have learned to carry themselves with presence and composure under pressure. They remain functional and clear when others around them begin to unravel into panic or despair. This steadiness is not an innate gift. It is earned through repeated exposure to difficulty and a deep, non-negotiable commitment to principle. Leadership through suffering is grounded in the power of example, not in the exercise of control. It is about providing clarity, not commands. Others are naturally drawn to someone who can maintain internal order while external chaos reigns. Someone who does not feel the need to dominate the conversation or the situation, but who remains consistent, reliable, and virtuous in their actions and words. When people see demonstrated proof that you do not break under pressure, they begin to trust your direction implicitly. That trust is earned through action, not demanded through authority. Pain prepares you for this role by ruthlessly removing illusion and pretense. You no longer need to pretend to be invincible or perfect. You understand what it truly means to be vulnerable without being unstable. You learn through experience how to carry hardship with dignity and composure. When you face your own pain with integrity, you become uniquely equipped to guide others with empathy and strength through their own. You do not rush in to solve everyone's problems for them. You provide a structure of calm and principle. You ask useful, clarifying questions. You work to keep the environment grounded in actionable steps and personal responsibility. The Stoic leader does not try to inspire through lofty speeches alone. They live in a way that speaks volumes without a word being said. They hold themselves to the very same standards they expect from others. They show restraint, courage, and consistency, not as a performance, but as a practice. These traits are lived, not performed. They are the direct result of years of facing discomfort with clarity and purpose. Let your own suffering prepare you to lead. Let it show you how to stay upright and steady when others are falling. Let it teach you to be firm in your principles without being harsh, calm without being avoidant, and honest without being aggressive. Let your behavior become a reference point that others can rely upon, not because you asked for their attention, but because you lived in a way that naturally earned it. Chapter 10, The Final Forging, Integrating the Lessons. Every experience of pain you endure leaves its mark and actively shapes your character. By the end of this journey through suffering and its lessons, what remains within you is no longer raw, untested, or fragile. It has been tested in the fires of experience, tempered by adversity, and strengthened through conscious practice. This final chapter of pain's influence is about integration, the process of bringing together all these hard-won lessons into a life that consistently reflects wisdom, resilience, and calm. The Stoics believed that philosophy was not an intellectual exercise for reading and debate alone. It was a practical guide for living. When pain has moved through you and left behind a structure of clarity, principle, and strength, the next step is to live it with consistency. You must continue walking the path, applying what you have learned in every role you occupy: friend, parent, leader, student, citizen. Your daily life is the ultimate proving ground for your philosophy. There will always be noise, delay, criticism, loss, and failure. These are not interruptions to a good life. They are the conditions where strength is demonstrated and virtue is made visible. They do not need to disrupt your core peace. They can serve as reminders to return to your training. This final forging of character requires a good dose of humility. You will make mistakes. There will still be moments where old habits overtake your newfound awareness. You may respond with anger, become distracted by external pressure, or act out of fear. These lapses are not failures. They are part of the ongoing human process. The Stoics viewed them as signals, valuable feedback, not as permanent setbacks. When you notice them, simply pause without self-condemnation. See it as an opportunity to return gently to your principles. These moments provide the feedback you need to keep growing. They remind you where your attention needs to go. They help you strengthen your discipline, not abandon it. Pain will continue to act as your guide throughout life. Each new discomfort, each inner conflict, each difficult decision will bring another test. These reminders are not punishments. They are tools for continued alignment. When you forget yourself or drift off course, pain has a way of bringing you back to awareness. It does this through discomfort, through a sense of inner imbalance, or through emotional resistance. Pay attention to those signals. Use them to reset your posture, both mentally and physically. Mastery of the self is not about achieving a state of perfect, flawless control over all things. It is about direction. It is about keeping yourself moving in alignment with what you have chosen to stand for. You know the cost of giving in to impulses. You know what it feels like to betray your own standards. That lived knowledge actively shapes your future decisions. The memory of past missteps does not need to become a source of guilt. It can become a source of guidance. It teaches you to step with more care, to listen with more awareness, and to speak with more responsibility. With this level of ongoing reflection, you gain depth. Your sense of courage shifts from brute force to quiet consistency. Your honesty becomes more subtle, more thoughtful, and more compassionate. You do not speak to impress others or to defend your ego. You speak to clarify and to connect. You live in such a way that your presence reflects your principles without you constantly needing to explain yourself. This form of living takes a lifetime to build, and pain is often the accelerator of that process. Let pain become part of your identity, not as an open wound, but as a tool that has shaped you. Let it remind you of what you have carried, what you have endured, and how you remain true to your values in moments that could have fractured a weaker person. Let it sharpen your sensitivity to what is truly meaningful and lasting. Let it reinforce the difference between what is solid and what is empty, what holds real value and what merely distracts. Each hardship teaches again and again that being prepared matters infinitely more than being comfortable. You will meet hardship again. That is the nature of a full and engaged life. You will encounter loss, tension, uncertainty, and fatigue. These experiences are not signs of failure. They are part of the rhythm of growth. You will move through them with the tools you have built. You will respond with greater composure because you have practiced returning to your center countless times. You will adjust your course not from a place of panic, but from a place of structure and principle. You have built that structure through daily repetition. You have aligned your decisions with what is virtuous. You have shaped your thoughts through discipline. You have refined your emotions so they support clarity instead of fueling confusion. You have learned to accept discomfort as part of the process instead of resisting it futilely. That work is overwhelmingly internal. It is not always visible to everyone else. It is often quiet, personal, and difficult. But it is the only true foundation for a stable, meaningful, and resilient life. This is the final shape that pain leaves behind. It is not a decoration for others to admire. It is not for display. It is structure, calm, focused, consistent. You carry it with you into every role, every conversation, every challenge. It becomes part of your presence. It becomes synonymous with your integrity. Others may not see the process you went through, but they will feel the result in your steadiness. Let pain shape you into someone steady. Let it deepen your awareness, sharpen your actions, and clarify your intentions. Let it remind you always that growth is possible through effort, through courage, and through reflection. Let it build a life within you that does not collapse in loss, does not drift in chaos, and does not abandon what is just, what is useful, and what is true. Subscribe,